What up tubers, Bunny here and welcome back to GeoFlight Simulator. So this week I'm going to be talking about the F16 Fighting Falcon. So here she is. She is a small, I would actually say maybe a medium-sized, high-speed fighter jet. This is the first aircraft that I'm actually covering that can go supersonic. However, this is not the first aircraft that Xavier Tassin, the developer of this game, added that is capable of achieving supersonic speeds. That title belongs to the Sukhoi Su-35, an aircraft which I will cover in another video. You know what, actually let me pull up the aircraft menu again. As long as I've got it open, I can show you where it is. Right here. F16 Fighting Falcon, 7th item down the list between de Havilland DHC-6 and Pit Special S1. So as far as skins go for this aircraft, what you see here is what you get. You get the Fighting Falcon for the United States Air Force. This is the only skin that you can play around with, or this is the only skin that comes with the aircraft that you can play around with. Let me clarify that. This aircraft has two animations to it. If I hit the X key, observe the cockpit. It opens up. Opens sesames, and there's the pilot right here. Yep, right there. Whose head seems to be kind of shaking a little bit. I'm not sure if she should actually be flying this thing today. But that's okay, because Bunny is going to be flying this thing today. And when Bunny flies this thing, this aircraft is sure to crash and die. Show you how this thing works so that you can enjoy it in GeoFlight Simulator. Yeah, that. Another animation that this aircraft has is if you press the F key, this hook comes down here. Now, what is that hook? That is an arresting hook made to grab onto an arresting cable for the aircraft carrier. I'll be going over the aircraft carrier capabilities in a few minutes, but for now I will just briefly say this. Yes, this aircraft is pretty much capable of landing and taking off at the aircraft carrier, even though this buddy is Air Force. It's actually not supposed to be landing on aircraft carriers, but I guess Xavier said, what the hell, let's just add this arresting cable to this thing and go from there. But, yeah. So, this aircraft has two flap settings. Setting 1, which brings down this back flap and this front flap. This is suitable for taking off. And then a second setting, which only lowers this front flap down more. Once this back flap is extended at setting 1, it stays extended that way. Setting 2 is good for landings. It helps keep your aircraft's speed down. So anyway, let me bring the flaps back up to normal. This also has some air brakes, so if I press B, there you go. These open up, and yeah, this aircraft can slow down pretty damn quickly if you apply them. But I'm going to want to try to be careful with high speeds, because as I record this game seems to be having a recurring issue where if you fly too long or too fast, it causes the rendering to cease for whatever reason. Okay, one thing you're going to notice about the gauges, and especially the air speedometer, you'll notice that this speedometer reads airspeed from 0 to 1200 knots, whereas the 737, which I covered 2 weeks ago, read from 0 to 600 knots, and helicopters and small propeller planes, like I've covered in the past few weeks, only go to like 220 knots, something like that. So yes, This speedometer is much more capable of reading the high speeds that this bird is capable of flying. Actually, bird reminds me that there's actually a cool looking design on the underbelly of this aircraft. But I will show you that once I get into the air. For now, let's go into the cockpit. So let me show you this thing. So right away you see this green heads up display here. Yep, that will read you out your airspeed. I believe this right side tells you your flight level. You've got a Machometer here. And it's like a nav ball. Like, I don't know 100% how exactly to describe to you what this thing does, but yeah, it's pretty sweet high tech. Yeah. The details in this cockpit aren't half bad either. Like, you've got functional nav balls, altimeter. I believe this looks like a vertical speed indicator here. No, I think this might be a Machometer actually. This here is your tachometer. It's the same as in the Boeing 737. You'll probably have noticed similar gear or gear gauge when in the exterior view. Nav ball, compass. So the pilot's hands, as you see on either side in the yellow gloves, they actually do have functions to them. Like, actually, if I pitch forward, you notice the right hand moving forward. Now it's moving back because I'm pitching back. And it also works with yawing left and right. Let me see if I can get that thing back. And I do not notice any animations with the yaw. But another thing that I have noticed, and I'm turning the engine off right now so I can show you without accidentally moving away. If I focus on this left hand, if I throttle up, you see the hand is moving the throttle stick back and forth. So yes, those details are animated. Now what if you open the cockpit from inside? You still get the animation of this thing opening. And let me go ahead and close this because I want to stay as pressurized as possible, lest I suffocate because I fly too high or something like that. But actually, that's not even something of concern in this flight simulator. So this airplane has two extra views to it. So if I go into camera, extra views. First one is pilot. You're basically looking at the face of the pilot, or the best you can see of the face. And this camera is locked into the aircraft's orientation for obvious reasons. Though you can zoom forward and back, which kind of looks a little weird. And then the other view is the pilot back. Basically, it's sort of like a third-person camera, so to speak. Just another good cockpit view that would look quite interesting when you're flying this bird. So anyway, speaking of flying this bird, I'm going to show you what this plane sounds like. And then from there, it's time to take off. Unmuted now. Well, let me go ahead and turn the engine on. It's going to sound cool. But caution, it's also going to be a little loud. Alright, I'm going to slightly throttle up, and then I'm going to then come to a stop. That way I can properly show you how to fly this. Timer of the burner! So now I need a conduit. Actually, I can unmute at this point. There we go. So that's what she sounds like. So as soon as this thing grounds to a halt, I will go into how to take off in this thing. Alright, so to take off, set your flap setting to 1. This will provide you with plenty of lift to take off once you get about 100 knots. I'm going to release the parking brake. Now, you have two options when you want to take off. You can either hit the 8 key, which is going to take your engine to full power, but without activating the afterburner. Or you could hit the 9 key, which in most other aircraft does mean full power. But this is full power once you turn that beautiful sucker known as the afterburner on, and you get good acceleration from there. For now, I am just going to do full power without the afterburner. So I'm going to hit the 8 key, which normally stands for 90% throttle, as you can see on this tachometer right here. So I'm going to roll to about 100 knots. I'm going to get past 100 knots even. Like about 150 knots, I can start pulling back. There we go. I've rotated. Now I'm going to bring the gear up, pressing the G key. And I'm going to bring the flaps in right away. And there we go. I am airborne. Now to keep my speed low, I'm going to bring my engine down to 50%. And let me go into its Midflight Performance capabilities. So, like I said, it's very high speed. If you have the afterburner enabled, its acceleration is wild fast. And I will show it in a few minutes, don't you worry. But its turning radius is, it can turn pretty quickly. Like if I go onto a knife hand, there we go. And whoa, I'm stalling. You got to be careful when you're trying tight turns because you get that stall warning. So how does this thing do with like basic stunts? Oh, not too bad at all. So let me go ahead and do a right roll. And there you go. It rolls pretty nicely. It actually rolls even more nicely when you fly at high speeds. But you could also do a loop-de-loop. So, yeah. Oh, this is a good time to mention. So, once I get this thing stable, there we go. Now you see the underbelly of the Fighting Falcon. And there you go. You see, it looks like a Falcon. Yes, it looks like a Falcon bird. Okay. No more jokes like that. Anyway, let me go ahead and roll right side up again. And I think that covers the mid-flight performance. Oh, I gotta show you. Afterburner, baby! Woohoo! Now, this is what I'm talking about. Full speed ahead. Now, this babe is capable of achieving speeds about, I would say a good cruising speed is about 750 knots of a top speed of about 850 knots. So, yeah. I'm actually approaching 600 knots. I'm just about passing Mach 1 at this point. Pretty wild, I have to admit. Yes, this is pretty cool. So, 700 knots. I am for sure supersonic at this point. Alright, let me show you its stopping power, and hopefully I don't crash the game. But you see the air speedometer? Oh, I just killed off my speed like that. Well, let me go ahead and do a nice sharp turn. I would like to go back to St. Juliana International Airport over in St. Martin. I'm assuming I pronounced that name correctly. I'm going to apply 50% power again. And it's time for me to take this bird back to the airport so I can show you how to land this aircraft. Alright, I'm about to come in on final for Princess Juliana International Airport. That's what it's called. Why did I call it St. Juliana? I don't know. But to land this thing, apply full flaps. You're going to want to have the lift necessary as well as the drag to slow down and be able to land as smooth as possible. So have your engine at about 50% when you go to do your landing. I find that helps me keep a pretty stable speed when I'm coming into descent with this much drag. And when you apply the flaps to full, be prepared to apply the pitch down key, because otherwise those flaps act as a really, really good pitching control surface. Okay, so I'm not exactly aligned for the runway here as I come in on final, but I'm not going to give a damn. I'm pretty used to screwing up my approaches that way. But anyway, now that I'm almost to the runway, I'm going to go ahead and bring down the landing gear. Try to bring the landing gear down as, like, just shortly before you land. So I'm going to cut the throttle now because I'm about to land. Just pull up to flare, and there you go. Once you touch down, apply the spoilers, and I also recommend applying the parking brake. So now you've got all this drag plus your dark matter parking brakes that are helping to slow the aircraft down. At 50 knots, I go ahead and bring the spoilers in, and I'll also bring the flaps in, and there we go. I have come to a complete stop in the F16 Fighting Falcon. And that, my friends, is how you fly one of these bad boys. Pretty badass fighter jet, if I do say so myself. So yes, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's carrier capable. I just brought down the arresting hook, which now makes me itch to take you over to the carrier. So let me get over there. Alright, so I'm coming in on final now for the USS John C. Stennis. Now, in most cases, of course, I had the dealio with having to land as early as possible, as hard as possible, and to stop with everything I have in this aircraft's power. With this arresting hook here, I don't need to worry about that. I just need to make sure that I don't stall out and fall short of the carrier. But now I've landed, and oh, you see? Right there. There we go. The cable stopped me, just like that. And actually, the funny thing is that I like to also practice buttering the bread on this aircraft, on this carrier, because of the assurance that I have that I will be able to stop in time. However, I've noticed that the cables can't really stop you if you're trying to fly into this bay at full speeds. It might slow you down 100 knots, but then the cable's gonna snap and you just keep on flying. So anyway, I'm sitting in the center of the deck here. I have, before this edge over here, I have maybe 300 feet. That's fine, because I'm going to apply the afterburners and watch. I'm going to take off from the deck of this carrier, no problem. Yes, this aircraft has a high enough thrust-to-weight ratio that I am actually able to safely land. I'm able to take off from this carrier with no need of a catapult at all. And of course, this raises the question, what if you don't want to use the arresting hook to stop this play on the carrier? Can you do that? And the answer is yes. You can, but it's going to be difficult. So, as with all other carrier landings I've done in other normal, non-carrier capable aircraft, you got to apply the parking brakes to the gears before you even touch down, You gotta land as early as possible, as slow as possible, and do everything in your power to come to a stop as quickly as possible. So actually I'm gonna cut the throttle here. Okay, spoilers. Oh, and you see that was a super hard landing. But actually I have found that, well, it's kind of capable, but at the same time, not really. However, if you really wanted to try landing on the carrier, simulating its movement, yes, you can. I would just recommend bringing your resting hook down so that you can safely land the bird on the deck. But anyway, I think that just about covers everything about the F16 Fighting Falcon. So next week, I'm actually going to shift gears and I'm not going to talk about an airplane. Rather, I'm going to discuss another feature of GeoFlight Simulator. I'm going to discuss altitudes, because one thing I realized that I forgot to mention is that this flight simulator does accurately render atmospheric density. So if I go ahead and take off from the carrier, and alright, let me go ahead and take off with simulated carrier movements. I can yeah, I can take off before the edge of the deck. So anyway, let me jostle the weather back to calm. And actually, if I go into like a 20-degree altitude, a 20-degree upward pitch, I am seriously capable of doing some extreme climbing in this aircraft. Like I once looked down from the screen for a period of time this one day, and the next thing I knew, I was at like 60,000 feet. This aircraft is capable of flying to those altitudes. However, the simulator realistically shows that some aircraft are not capable of 60,000 feet. That's a feature. Okay, I'm going too far. I'll explain that in next week's video. So anyway, I'm going to keep on climbing as high as this aircraft will possibly take me. But otherwise, that's going to conclude this week's video. So I'm Spacebun. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you all next week. Sierra Bravo 717 checking out.